Hi, and welcome to this presentation of Newstapas. Newstapas is a context-aware recommendation system for newsfeed layout. My name is Joeri Ruyssinck. I'm the CEO of ECML-PKDD, and I will be guiding you through this presentation. So what is Newstapas all about? Newstapas is technology specifically made for news providers. It optimizes the presentation of news to readers, and we do this using a content adaptation engine, which we fuel by using context-aware recommendation systems. So what are the project goals and achievements? Before Newstapas, our news providers were already using AI technology to provide a better experience to the readers. For example, central in this figure, you will see a content recommendation engine. And what it does is it will check out which stories are available from the newsroom, and it will automatically determine which might be of interest to the readers based on behavioral profiles. In the newsroom, we have journalists continuously composing new stories based out of different story elements, such as video, text, or pictures. Now, we all have different interests, but we all also have very different lifestyles. So I'm showing you 4 pictures of 4 different people, but actually they might be the same person at different times of the day. At the top right, you might be commuting to work. You might not have a lot of time to read the news. And for example, on the bottom right, you might be enjoying a holiday abroad, and you might be interested in catching up in depth on what is happening in your home country. So with this in mind, we thought it should be a very good idea to actually also use this context in our personalization scheme. So you will see in the updated figure that we don't only have a content recommendation engine, but now a content segmentation engine appears. And so what should this content segmentation engine do? Well, it should be very context aware. It should be able to automatically compose stories based on different story elements. So the journalists are no longer writing the stories, but they are composing they're creating the story elements, and actually the segmentation engine will compose them into a coherent story. It should also be able to adapt the layout to the situation where you're in. So if you're commuting, you want to have a very short text. You don't want to have pictures. You want to have presented to you in a very simple layout. Now, this is a personalization project. So with Newstapas, we are very aware we don't want to create a personalization effect which is perceived negative. So we involved users from the very start, and we asked them, okay, what would you like and what wouldn't you like about this kind of context adaptation? And of course, we also seek out to have a very generic solution, because news providers have all kinds of different data available according to what they track and what their users allow them to track. And also the different apps of these users, of these news providers, they have a lot of different users with different patterns on how they digest the news. So this is basically what Newstapas is all about, a system which we have created. And in the next 7 minutes, I will explain more in depth on how we did it. But before I do so, I would like to introduce to you the consortium of Newstapas. In Newstapas, we have 2 news providers, Rulata Media Group, which is a Belgian multimedia group and market leader in the field of magazines and local media in Flanders. And we also joined by the Flemish Radio and Television Broadcasting Organization, which is the national public service broadcaster for the Flemish community. We're also joined by 2 core research groups of IMEC, ID Lab, which is specialized in internet and data technologies, and SMIT, which specializes in social science research on media and ICT. And also we have a technology provider, ECML-PKDD, and at ECML-PKDD we provide services to organizations, and our services are based on advanced machine learning technology. Our consortium was one of the recipients of the 6th round of the Digital News Innovation Fund. So to quickly recap the novel situation we want to create with Newstapas, we want to create a content segmentation engine which is able to automatically compose stories and adapt layout based on the context of the user. We want to involve users from the start, and we want to create a very generic solution. So we of course need to start with about how users think about these ideas we had. And to this end, the Flemish Radio and Television Broadcasting Organization conducted user interviews with 14 news app users. And these were selected out of a pool of more than 100 candidates. And they were able to interact with different story formats, layouts, and navigation controls. And then we asked them about, okay, how do you digest news during day-to-day life? Which kind of formats and control schemes do you prefer? And especially, what is your opinion about the concepts we introduced in Newstapas? And of course, a lot of feedback came out of that. But the key takeaways was actually that a lot of users feared that they were losing control And actually, this fear of losing control dominated the benefits they could see about the layout personalization and the adaptation of the length of the article. They also claimed that they had very irregular daily and weekly patterns, and they didn't think an app would be able to make adequate prediction about which kind of context they were in. And also, they specifically liked actually that the story composing would be based on the reading time they would have available, but only if they remained in control. We further went through on this, and actually the Smith Research Group had a group discussion with 29 other respondents. And in this group discussion, they discussed also their current news digestion habits, their opinion about news updates, news format steaming, and also about the key concepts of Newstapas. And some key takeaways were different, so some were the same. Actually, one that popped up here, which was very interesting, is that most users don't see the difference between content recommendation, where you suggest which kind of article a user is interested in, and context-aware adaptation, where you say, okay, I will present it in a different format if the context suits it. Again, there was a positive reception, especially about the length of reading time adaptation. But also here, people claimed that their lifestyle might be too erratic for an algorithm to determine. And the fear of losing control was also present here, so they had a strong preference to micromanage at the article level instead of the app level. And of course, not to be forgotten, user data transparency. So which kind of data the app was using is very important to the users, as is always the case in this kind of personalization project. So with this in mind, we of course we adapted and we fine-tuned the technical challenges ahead of us, and of course very important was the reading time. So actually, how we will compose articles, we will do it based on the reading time, but we will also allow the users to have full control on which kind of reading time is available to him. But what is the reading time of an article? Well, for this, we had a data set available of approximately a bit less than 60K users. And all of these users had read at least more than 20 articles on the news app. And they were doing this on mobile, desktop, and tablet. And on the graph, you can see how it fluctuates during the day. And also, for example, we could see that most users actually don't scroll down the entire article. They stop reading at approximately 70% of the article. So these kind of things we need to keep into account if you want to accurately predict the reading time of a certain composition or segmentation engine will make. The dataset we had available was not suited to actually learn which kind of formats, which kind of layouts were suited to the user, because in this dataset, all of the users represented the same formats. There was only one format. So we need to create a new data set. And the way we did this is by actually creating a tensor. And on one axis, we put the device type, mobile, desktop, and tablet. And on the other hand, on the other axis, we put the time of day. So we focus here mainly on daily patterns. And on the most important axis, we actually have the user interaction. So how the user is interacting with the different story elements. So for example, a picture, a video, or a text. So which kind of story element does the user prefer? We also have a fourth axis, but it's not always included, where we can add recommendation scores. And actually, we have also different options available, for example, for teams or other situations that might be interesting to add to this data set. And the way we update user interactions is by actually, if a user is presented an article, we will predict the reading time using our previous analysis, and we will compare it to the actual reading time. And for example, if the user spends less time to the article, we assume that he skipped certain elements in the composition. And so actually we penalize all of the different elements that are present in the article. And so we will update them. We keep track of these user vectors in the MongoDB for performance reasons. We actually lower all of the elements that are present. And at the end, if a user reads a lot of articles, of course, the elements which the user prefers, they will bubble up. And the ones he doesn't prefer, they will bubble down. And this is the way we update it. And the reason why we don't have the tensor, but we actually have the user interaction separately in a MongoDB is because, of course, for performance reasons, where if a user wants to read a new article, the layout needs to be adapted on the fly. So one disadvantage with this approach is that there's a lot of missing entries. So the users generate very sparse entries in the tensor because they're not always active during the entire day, or they might not all use different devices during the day. So to this end, we periodically extract all of the data from the MongoDB using Kuplo mechanism, and we train a variational autoencoder, which actually does what every recommender does. It groups together similar uses and it imputes missing values along the way. And this way, actually, we update the user entries and we can give them an accurate layout prediction. So this was all I could tell about Newstapas, but I would like to end by telling you that pilot app will launch the end of September. And if you're interested in a taste or you want to know more, you can contact us at newstapas@ml2grow.com. And thank you for tuning into this presentation.